Prison is often thought of as a place of punishment, but even among inmates, some crimes are seen as unforgivable. Those convicted of heinous acts, especially crimes against children, often become targets of brutal prison justice. Today, we're diving into the chilling stories of 10 infamous criminals who met their end behind bars. Stick around. Number 1 involves a case so shocking, it sparked international conspiracy theories. Welcome to the Grim Crim Vault. Number 10, John Geoghan, the disgraced priest.
Geoghan is accused of molesting dozens of children over 2 decades. And New England cable news reporter Greg Whalen has more.
John Geoghan was a Catholic priest whose name became synonymous with the widespread sexual abuse scandal within the church. Over decades, he abused more than 130 children, often targeting boys in his parish. Church leaders repeatedly moved him from one congregation to another, despite knowing about the allegations against him. In 2003, while serving a sentence for molesting a 10-year-old boy, Geoghan's infamy caught up with him. His cellmate, Joseph Druce, a convicted murderer, strangled Geoghan with a bedsheet and stomped on him. Druce later admitted he saw Geoghan as a prize, claiming he had planned the attack for weeks. The incident highlighted the failures of the church and the prison system to protect both victims and perpetrators. Number 9, Richard Huckle, predator of Malaysia.
I've never covered a child sex case like it. The abuser, a young middle-class British man.
Richard Huckle was one of the most prolific child predators in recent history. Posing as a missionary and teacher in Malaysia, he abused impoverished children, with some victims as young as 6 months old. Huckle even shared graphic images of his crimes on the dark web, where he encouraged others to follow his methods. In 2019, Huckle was serving 22 life sentences in the UK when fellow inmate Paul Fitzgerald brutally murdered him. Fitzgerald tied Huckle up, sexually assaulted him, and strangled him with an electrical cord. Fitzgerald claimed he wanted Huckle to feel the fear his victims experienced, calling it an act of revenge for the children Huckle had harmed. Number 8, David Bobb and Graham DeLewis Conti, beaten over kids' TV. David Bobb and Graham DeLewis Conti were serving life sentences for the sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl. Despite their crimes, Bobb boldly watched PBS Kids in a shared prison space, enraging fellow inmates. Jonathan Watson, also serving a life sentence, took matters into his own hands. He attacked Bobb with a walking cane, beating him to the brink of death before seeking out DeLewis Conti and delivering the same fate. Watson later confessed, saying he couldn't tolerate sharing space with child predators. Number 7, Theodore Dyer, a mother's nightmare.
Plead to the second count of murder in the second degree. Guilty?
Yes, sir.
And doing so freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Doing so because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Theodore Dyer was sentenced to 50 years in prison after being caught in the act of sexually assaulting a 9-year-old girl. The child's mother had trusted him as a neighbor, only to discover the horrifying truth. Dyer's time in prison was short-lived. In 2013, his cellmate, Stephen Sanderson, strangled him with a cord after learning about his crime. Sanderson later testified that he couldn't bear to hear Dyer justify his actions, calling it a personal mission to ensure Dyer never hurt anyone again. Sanderson, already serving a life sentence, said he had no regrets. Number 6, Mitchell Harrison, lured to his death. Mitchell Harrison was convicted of raping a 13-year-old girl after luring her to his apartment. He promised her money for alcohol, but instead subjected her to hours of abuse. His crime left the girl traumatized, but Harrison's own fate would be far more gruesome. In 2011, fellow inmates Nathan Mann and Michael Parr invited Harrison into their cell, tied him up, and disemboweled him. They slit his throat and stabbed him repeatedly, claiming Harrison's bragging about his crimes was the final straw. The murder shocked the UK prison system, revealing the lengths inmates will go to punish sex offenders. Number 5, Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire predator. Jeffrey Epstein's name became synonymous with wealth, power, and horrific crimes. Over decades, he exploited dozens of underage girls, some as young as 14, under the guise of offering financial help or career opportunities. His private island and luxurious mansions were the backdrop for a sex trafficking ring that implicated powerful figures worldwide. In 2019, Epstein was arrested and held in a New York jail. Just weeks later, he was found dead in his cell, with the official cause ruled as suicide. However, the circumstances surrounding his death, broken cameras, guards asleep on duty, sparked conspiracy theories suggesting he was silenced to protect others. Whether by his own hand or foul play, Epstein's death marked a dark end to a case that shocked the globe. Number 4, Robert Munger, karma in the same cell. Robert Munger was serving a 43-year sentence for sexually abusing multiple children when he was assigned a cellmate, Shane Goldsby. Goldsby was horrified to learn Munger was the man who had molested his younger sister. Unable to contain his rage, Goldsby brutally attacked Munger, delivering over a dozen blows to his head and stomping on his skull. Goldsby later admitted he had begged prison officials for a different cellmate but was ignored. While Goldsby faced additional charges for the killing, many saw his actions as a form of poetic justice. Number 3. Matteo Condalucci, Vigilante Justice. Matteo Condalucci had served time twice for sexually assaulting children. After his release, he resumed living a seemingly normal life, but a concerned neighbor, James Fairbanks, decided to take action. In 2020, Fairbanks tracked Condalucci to his home in Nebraska and shot him multiple times. Fairbanks later confessed in an anonymous letter, claiming he couldn't tolerate the idea of Condalucci living near children. While some hailed Fairbanks as a hero, others condemned his actions. He was ultimately sentenced to 40 to 70 years in prison for the killing. Number 2. Liam Dean, killed for a child's death. Liam Dean was convicted of murdering his 2-day-old daughter, Luna. Enraged by her crying, Dean punched and shook the newborn, causing severe injuries that led to her death. His crime sparked outrage, and in 2017 he was sentenced to life in prison. Dean's fellow inmates saw him as the ultimate target. In 2018, he was killed by his cellmate, John Westland, who attacked him with a shard of glass. Dean's murder highlighted the dangers of being a baby killer in prison. Number 1. Anthony Palma, a cold case comes full circle. Anthony Palma was convicted of the 1997 abduction and murder of 8-year-old Kirsten Hatfield in Oklahoma. For nearly 2 decades, her disappearance remained a mystery until DNA evidence linked Palma to the crime. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole in 2017. In 2019, Palma's story ended abruptly when his cellmate strangled him to death. Prison officials reported the incident as a targeted attack, and while the exact motive wasn't disclosed, many speculated it was due to Palma's heinous crime against a child. His death brought a grim conclusion to a case that had haunted Kirsten's family and the community for years. These cases reveal the grim reality of prison justice, where crimes committed outside often dictate the fates of those inside. While the acts carried out by these individuals were unforgivable, their deaths behind bars remain a stark reminder of the violent codes that govern life in prison. Which of these stories shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the Grim Crim Vault for more chilling tales from the world of crime. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.